weight division for selection for Uzbekistan, so didn't make it. And here's another guy who's coming at relatively short notice, Sergei Ludkovich. He's undefeated. And he was happy to take this. 29 years old, a Russian fighter, 18 wins and a draw. This is his first outing in IBA.PRO. He's had a couple in the US, a 10-round win against Kareem Mayfield in 2018. And he drew over 10 against Maxim Chelyabinsk in February last year. 6-0 opponent. His last fight was a third-round knockout.
So Kareem Mayfield, a name that I haven't heard in a while, Andy.
I think that was over in Fantasy Springs. Had a couple in America, and then the rest have been in Russia.
Его дебют на профессиональном ринге принес ему победу, и он вошел во вкус. Останавливаться он точно не намерен. Его называют Джимми, Узбекистандан, Saidjamshid Jafarov. Золотой угол ринга за опытным профессионалом из России. Ему 29 лет. Рост 177 сантиметров, вес 70 килограммов, 600 граммов. Хорошо знакомый любителям бокса по обе стороны Атлантического океана, он провел 19 боев. Одержал 18 побед, 12 из которых досрочно, и один бой завершил в ничью. Его рекорд говорит сам за себя. Мне остается только назвать обладателя. Его зовут Сергей. Sergei Ludkovich! С ударом гонга рефери этого поединка Виктор Панин.
So again, this one scheduled for 6.
Господа боксеры, я прошу вас,
Jafarov on the right-hand side there in the black,
слушаем мои
Ludkovich
команды. Желаем
in the
удачи.
white.
Пожали руки по углам. Синий угол, готовы? Капа. Капа. Красный угол, готовы? Капа.
Slight height advantage and a reach advantage there for Jafarov. He really has got some long levers on him. You'll notice that when we get going.
Already you can see Andy Jafarov with that relaxed southpaw Uzbek style that we've seen carry the likes of Bahadur Jalilov, Molodjanov, etc. to glory last year in the Olympics.
They had an absolutely sensational Olympic Games. I mentioned Asakuja, Mudikujayev. They dominated the men's side of the competition. They really did.
As you mentioned, certainly no disgrace not being able to make that Olympic team.
Работаем, ребят, работаем.
Trying to whip in that lead right hook there, Jafarov, closing the distance nice and quick. Ludkovich, though, has got some poise about him, got some composure. Just eyes locked onto the target. But the frame on Jafarov and the arms on him, it's incredible, really, that he manages to make this weight.
Yeah, the size is very intimidating. Ludkovich doing well, as you mentioned. They're holding the shape nicely. Obviously going to find it difficult to land against a big, rangy, skilled southpaw early on. So targeted the body with the jab earlier on in the round. And just having a look at Jafarov here. There he goes again, targeting the body, Ludkovich.
I think that's a good idea for him, isn't it? Dip those knees, send that right hand into the body, just try and get underneath, because when you look at the way he holds those hands Jafarov. He does give you some body, doesn't he? Those elbows flare away from the ribcage a bit. But you've got to be bold, haven't you, to get yourself into a position where you can tickle those ribs, because it means you've got to commit. Get inside that reach of his.
As you know, Andy, as it's par for the course with these very talented Uzbek fighters, they'll make you overcommit on that front foot, drop back, and then come back with shots of their own. So does have to be careful here, Ludkovich, but certainly hasn't been overawed in that first round.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Но и площадка для обмена опытом между профессиональными клубами, организаторами спортивных событий и другими участниками спортивного сообщества.
Through with that straight left hand, got through with lead right hook a couple of times. But there's that right to the body. His feet almost went from underneath him there. Just a slight slip on the canvas.
Секунданты за ринг. Второй раунд.
Looks off that jab really, really quick, doesn't he? It's barely perceptible at times. Flicks it out. And then almost before he's got to the end of the jab, he's already looking to try and turn it into that hook and just swap with it more than anything else. Straight left hand there from Jafarov. He's just trying to up things a bit, I think, at the start of the second round, but Ludkovich, as I mentioned in the first, has got some composure. He's well set up. He's got his feet underneath him. Fundamentals are decent.
Yeah, looks a well-organised fighter, and you can clearly tell that he's got a game plan. It's going to be very difficult, as it always is, against a big, rangy, tall southpaw like Jafarov. But nobody yet really taken control of this one.
No, that's a fair comment. That's a good, strong left hand there. He stepped in behind that Jafarov and really gave himself a chance. But as you mentioned, that style of Uzbek fighters, they often
Good
are
body shot.
waiting for you and trying to tempt you with making you fall short. But he stepped in again there and just really harpooned that left hand into the pit of the stomach almost there, Jafarov, and he's looking a bit more aggressive at the start of the second.
Yeah, that was a good shot there from Jafarov. Just gave himself, as you mentioned, just a little half step back. And that almost bolo left hand to the midsection, comes close there again with the left hand, almost throwing that one at the chest of Ludkovich. Good left hand again, just starting to pick up the pace here a little bit, Jafarov.
And at that kind of range, there isn't an awful lot that Ludkovich can do. He's got to try and get tighter, move that head on the way in. Tries to nick a right hand to the body there. I'm not quite sure if it reached.
Jafarov just getting a bit closer now with that left hand. Timing Ludkovich's advances, looking for that big counter shot. Another good left hand to the body.
Closing stages of round two, and he's just taken things up a notch in the second round here. Jafarov. And it'll be interesting to see if he continues to try and do that, to click through the gears as we head through these rounds, because when you look at the natural tools, he's got some fairly ridiculous natural tools, to be honest.
Yeah, very loose, languid, good feet. You just see Ludkovich there targeting the body, That left hand starting to become more of a factor now for Jafarov in that second round. We see it land there again.
It's a distraction, that lead right in that instance, isn't it? He's waving it out there almost. It's not that he isn't intending to land it, but it is more of a decoy. And has that kind of dip glide as he comes in and really throws that left hand hard on that upwards trajectory. And it would be good actually to see him in this remaining 4 rounds just try and keep that intensity high, try and, as I say, click through those gears and really look to get something done. That's a good up jab to kick things off at the start of round 3 from him. No knockdown. Push.
Box!
Ludkovich now being forced to be a little bit more reactive to what Jafarov does as he lands that left hand again, the best shot of the fight so far. That straight left hand is starting to become a real factor as it lands again. Just almost looped that one a little bit more around the guard, wasn't quite gun barrel straight. Just showing some good variation with that left hand as well.
He's trying to get closer here, Ludkovich, and it's the right thing to do. It's a difficult mission, but he knows that he cannot just allow his opponent to dictate the distance. Whoever dictates the distance dictates a fight. It's as simple as that. And he's got to try and get a little bit closer. That means he's going to wear a few on the way in.
Good left hand.
And again, he just piles in behind that left hand there, Jafarov. He's got to try and get off the punching line here, Ludkovich. These are all things that he knows. They're easy to say. They're difficult to do. But if he's going to make any kind of an impact here, then that is what he has to try and do. But there's that lead hook almost, that I would say, rather than a jab. He's got some sting and whip on it.
I'd like to see Jafarov just feint a little bit more. He's varying that left hand well to the head and body. Just keep Ludkovich guessing. Ludkovich a little bit off balance there as he walks into a check right hook.
Final minutes of round 3.
And another good round here for Jafarov without really dominating the fight. Of course, Ludkovich not being thoroughly outclassed by any stretch of the imagination, but just see now the Uzbek starting to find his rhythm, starting to find his distance, committing a little bit more to that left hand.
Hasn't gone crazy in this round, has he? No. I thought maybe off the back of the second round where he had some good success, and then at the start of the third he piled in behind that straight left hand a couple of times. I wondered whether he might look to really pour it on and put a serious dent in this man in this third, but he's done enough. He's certainly done enough. There goes the bell. So 3 down, halfway through this one, scheduled for 6. I mean, good fight so far tonight. We've seen some good stuff from both corners. And plenty to come.
Something a couple of times Ludkovich, you just saw on the replay before, just losing his footing a little bit on the front foot. He's getting a little bit messy on the inside there as Ludkovich landed a couple of cuffing hooks on the inside. Does have that very recognisable Uzbek style, doesn't he? Jafarov could almost take a blind guess.
He does, he really does. He really does. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with them, because they did so well at the Olympic Games, and you can box pro at the same time as boxing is an amateur now. Everybody knows that. That's been the case for quite some time. But of all the fighters who turned over after Rio, there was a lot of ability there, but they maybe haven't really gone on and achieved as professionals what people thought they might. You know, you look to the likes of Gyasov. Akhmadaliev has, you would have to say. Melekuziev looked like he might, hasn't quite happened. Jalolov is the most interesting one because his pro career's never really got going because he never really left the amateurs, and he's a double Olympic gold medalist now, which makes you a hero beyond belief in Uzbekistan. It's a country very much obsessed with Olympic sport, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if he went back to try and become a three-time Olympic champion and put himself up there with the likes of Teofilo Stevenson, Felix Savon and Laszlo Papp. I really think he might do that.
Left hand there from Jafarov.
It will be to the detriment of his pro career, but I think it'll be very difficult to resist that temptation when he seems to have that 3-round format just absolutely down.
Still staying nice and patient here. Jafarov has landed a couple of very solid left hands here in the 4th round.
He's in with a guy who's not going to give him anything, is he, Ludkovich? He's losing the fight here, and he'll know that. He'll know that heading into round 5, if things keep going like this, he's really going to need a stoppage, Ludkovich. But he's got some intelligence about him, and he realises that the way to turn this around is not to just wade into the gunfire. That could see him in for an early night. He's got to be smart and try and pick his punches.
Yeah, clearly well-organised fighter, as we mentioned. He clearly started the fight with a distinct game plan. Just wonder how much belief he has in it at the minute. He is staying in there, he's not being outclassed, but it's not working for him here, and he does need to try something different because Jafarov, as he just lands a cuffing lead right hook.
No, that's exactly it. That's exactly right. You do wonder whether at this stage is he actually trying to win this fight? Does he feel like he's actually capable of winning this fight? Because, as I mentioned, I think he's got enough about him to know that if he's too gung-ho here, then it could end badly. And he's competitive, and he's giving, as you said, he's giving us a decent showing here. But the smart thing to do here really is box for 6 rounds. You can lose this on points and show people that you've got something about you. I think that's probably better if you're him, if you're in the Ludkovich business, to do that rather than be a hero and maybe get knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, and all credit to him, obviously taking this fight on short notice and hasn't been outclassed, but is coming off second best here, and you mentioned with just 2 rounds to go, as a clean left hand shows there on the replay from Jafarov. Ludkovich, 6 minutes. It doesn't look as though it's very likely that he's going to pull this one out of the fire. It's going to be interesting to see how he does approach these last 2 rounds.
I think we'll see more of the same from him.
Ultimately, you can only do what you can do, and he's found himself against a very capable opponent.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
And throwing caution to the wind is all very well and good when you're sat in Birmingham.
Yes, exactly right. It's an easy thing to say. It's a very easy thing to say, but when you're in with somebody with real ability like he is here, then you will get punished if you are reckless or careless. It just will happen. Nice dip of the knees there from Ludkovich, and sent the right hand into the body. What do you think with Jalolov? Do you think he'll probably stick around and try and go for that 3rd Olympic gold medal and try and keep the pro career going? But to be honest, he's not really going to do it as a pro, particularly in the current heavyweight landscape, unless he commits to it fully. I'm just not totally sure that he will. I think that carrot of LA 2028 is going to be very, very difficult to resist. Left hand there, strong left hand from Jafarov, but maybe just more of a balance issue there for Ludkovich.
Yeah, on Jalalov, obviously we saw him box recently against Igor Shevezutsky, the Hulk. Everybody's favourite Hulk in the heavyweight division.
He is a big lad, isn't he?
He is a big lad. Scored the early knockdown there, Jalalov, but kind of was a little bit disinterested as the fight went on. You know, was hit clean himself a few times in the last round of the fight. You know, he had to wear a few, and as we all know, in 10-ounce gloves in the pro game, it is a different ball game. I think Jalalov, as you mentioned earlier, has mastered that 3-round format. You know, it's not the same in countries like Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. Their gold medalists are their rock stars, and to be a 3-time gold medalist in the super heavyweight division, he would join, as you mentioned earlier, a very, very, very select elite list of men who have achieved that in the past. So I think you probably do see him in LA.
Well, just great that we know for absolutely certain that boxing will be part of LA 2028, because it's been a worrying, nervy time of boxing taking its place in what I think is going to be a fairly spectacular Olympic Games.
Good left hand to the body there from Jafarov again. Just falling in at times a little bit. Can often be the case as well when it's not that typical touch, drop back, whip. But you can see just a little bit of overcompensating on the front foot.
Good, strong, stiff right hand there from Ludkovich as Jafarov was just standing in range, and he let him know. And I think Jafarov himself will be aware that he's in with a guy here who's not going to give him anything, that forcing a stoppage here against Ludkovich is not at the minute looking like something that is going to happen. So you just box out this final 3 minutes and you take the win, and it's been a decent outing for him. It's been a very worthwhile fight for him, I think.
Something that you say quite often, Andy, Ludkovich hasn't cooperated. You know,
No.
It hasn't been a case where he's wore a left hand, and he has been hit clean by some good shots by Jafarov, but he stayed composed. The red list hasn't come down. He hasn't gone and made a mistake looking to try and get it back. Admittedly, I don't think has come close to winning a round, or even really had particularly many great moments within the fight, but hasn't been battered, hasn't been embarrassed, and I'm sure he'll still harbour aspirations of turning this around in the 6th round, but it's been a very capable showing from him, admittedly just in there with a better fighter.
That's exactly what it's been, and he's shown us that he's got some pretty solid whiskers too, because that straight left hand has crashed through a couple of times, particularly I think in round 4, and he just saw it, managed to ride it slightly, take a little bit of sting off it. You described him as well organised, which is completely accurate. And again there's a good combination from Jafarov. Ludkovich came into this undefeated. You could argue he'd not been tested strenuously in his career up until this point, but I think that's why he was happy to take this fight, because it's on a good platform. He's in his late 20s now, and you do sometimes get to a stage where you just think to yourself, okay, what is it that I want to try and achieve? And what every fighter always wants is to find out how good they are. And when you're in with somebody like this, he's not done anything as a pro himself yet, Jafarov, but you can see that he's a very skilled person. It gives you some kind of a yardstick for what you might be able to do.
Yeah, and I don't think he's disgraced himself by any stretch of the imagination. Cuffing right hook there from Jafarov, doesn't land flush. Again, Ludkovich firing back, holding the shape, looking to target the body.
Работаем, ребят, работаем.
He's not really biting on the feints either, is he, Ludkovich? A lot of the time, he's got that kind of up and down rhythm to him, Jafarov, and a couple of times there he's just twitching. He's trying to draw something from Ludkovich, and he's not, as we said, he's not cooperating. He's not having it.
Jafarov was doing a lot more feinting earlier in the fight, and I felt like that was opening up some some of those avenues for him to land the left hand to the head and body. I don't think he's done as much of that in the last couple of rounds, but I mentioned there, Ludkovich, very capable fighter, you know, standing there, not giving him the easy openings and not making it easy for him to just drop back and land that shot.
So, final 30 seconds. And again, it's been another solid 6 rounds, this. Decent to watch. 3 more fights to come. Top of the bill, of course, Sergei Kovalev up against our tour man. So there goes the final bell. Good night's work, a very honest night's work there from Sergei Ludkovich, and some good skills on display from Saidjamshid Jafarov, who has won that fight. He'll have won every single round of those 6, but he was competitive. That's been the name of the game on this card so far tonight. They've been good matchups. Nobody's been given anything. We did see a very early finish in one particular fight, but it was a good, well-placed body shot that brought things to a halt on that occasion. And Jafarov, I wonder what they'll look to try and do with him next. He's had a few of these now, maybe up the duration, look for some kind of a title.
Always interesting to see how far these amateur stand-ups are moved. We are in an age now where people want to move faster and faster, coming out of the unpaid ranks. Really interesting to see how far Jafarov moves. But what to like about him, as I mentioned earlier, a very textbook Uzbek fighter, somebody that, you know, shows all of those hallmarks of those great southpaws that we've mentioned earlier. You mentioned Chelyabinsk, Lazizbek Molodinov, another very, very slick, capable southpaw. The Uzbeki takeover continues, Andy.
And they've got a very solid platform here on these IBA.PRO cards as well, because traditionally fighters have had to head for the USA. It's a very difficult thing to do. It's a massive culture shock, and you're in a country where, to be honest with you, nobody really cares about you from the point of view of selling tickets. So being able to base yourself in Central Asia, Eastern Europe, where you're from, is much more preferable for them.
Бой продлился всю дистанцию, и по его завершении единогласным решением судей вторую в профессиональной карьере победу одержал боксер черного угла ринга Saidjamshid Jafarov.
So unanimous decision win for Saidjamshid Jafarov. It was a straightforward job for the judges. Good display there, though, from both fighters. Sergei Ludkovich, undefeated coming into this one with 18 wins and a draw, showed himself to be a very capable operator. Jafarov in bursts gave us a look at what he's got in his arsenal and in his locker, and it's a considerable amount. And I think we might be in for a little bit of an interlude at this point before we get into the final 3 fights of the night, as we look at a few replays from that previous fight. We've got Andrey Stotsky up against Madiyar, Saydrakhimov, 6 rounds at cruiserweight. Then Timur Bibilov against Joshua Wasike, 10 for the WBA Asia cruiserweight title. And then top of the bill, the IBA Intercontinental Cruiserweight title on the line for Sergei Kovalev. But the headline really is the fact that this is going to be Kovalev's last professional fight.
Титул IBA.PRO Intercontinental.
An unbelievable career.
Друзья, полночь мы начнем поединки.
And it is a bit of a privilege, to be honest, to be calling him out for one last time. As I said, I think we're in for a little bit of an interlude now. I think things will get started again at the top of the hour in about 20 minutes time.
У нас небольшая пауза, мы немножечко постреляем с панчером прямо сейчас. Дайте шуму, зал! Пока не будем торопиться, надо немножечко раскачать, а то немножко все засиделись. Давайте покричим немножечко. Челябинск! Ну же, все вместе!